Good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock. It's the Thursday, the 24th of June, and it's a proper lunch. How are we?
Good, thank you. Yes, all right.
PTK, all good? Jonny, all good?
Yes, very
Coming
good.
at you live through the Proper Marketing Facebook page and the Jonny Fulton LinkedIn experience, which I think is how it should be branded, quite honestly. And how are we all, gents? Have you had a good week?
Yes. Go, Jonny. Tell us about your
I
week.
was going to say, yes, we've had a cracking week, to be fair. It feels like one of those weeks where things started coming together after the turmoil of the past 15, 16 months. So, yes, a very good week for us.
Good news. And Paul, we've just seen a lot of each other, so that's always a lovely week to have, isn't it? That's always very nice. It's been what quaint English folk call a fortnight since I was last on a proper lunch, though, apart from a fleeting visit last week. So give us the rundown of what happened last week for those who weren't here, like myself.
It was fascinating. In our Inspirational Women series, it's a very short series. It was just the one. But we could expand that, of course, in time. We invited Jules White of Live It, Love It, Sell It to come and chat with us last week. She was fabulous. An inspirational woman, Dragon's Den survivor, author, presenter, trainer, entrepreneur, all-round good chap. So we like Jules, and she was good fun, wasn't she, Jonny? She was proper fascinating just to listen to.
Yeah,
I watched this. Yeah, really. I watched the show back afterwards, and it was actually listening.
What happened last week for those who weren't here?
Hello.
What happened there?
That's impressive. Do that again. Go on, do that again. I watched the show back, and it was fascinating. Some of the points she makes are really good. So if you haven't seen it, dear viewer, wander back and have a look for Jules White, Live It, Love It, Sell It. And that was only last week on Thursday. But of course, we were missing one of our shipmates.
Well, yes, that would have been me. And I do send my apologies as I tried to. It was fun. I had a fun time. So that morning, Paul and I had been to a client meeting, a real life one, which are few and far between these days, aren't they? But we've been to see a proper client. And we started. I need to precursor this by saying I know a lot of things about a lot of things, but I know nothing about geography, and I don't really ever know where I am. So to prove that point, I knew we had to go to a client, but I know where Paul's house is. So I thought I'll go to Paul's first, then he can drive us to the client because then I can't get lost. That worked. Paul then drove us back to his house after the meeting. I looked at my clock. I thought, this is great. I live about 20 minutes away. I've got 45 minutes till a proper lunch. We're on. I'll be home. So I put home into my sat nav because I don't know my way from Paul. I know my way to Paul's house, but not from, obviously. And then I had some calls to make. So I phoned the missus, have a chat. I do a couple of business calls on the hands-free, of course, safe and legal. And then as I hang up from the third call, I look around and think, now, I know I'm no good at geography, but I haven't got a clue where I am. So I pull over to one side, and sure enough, I've put completely the wrong thing into the sat-nav, and I'm halfway to Aylesbury. At this point, it's 10 to 1, so I'd send Paul a quick text, not going to make it, chum. And then I think, do you know what? There's nothing I could do about this. So I found a chip shop, and I thought what I'll do is go and get myself sausage and chips for my proper lunch, and then sit in a lay-by, and I'll do a proper lunch from a lay-by. And then the rest is history. I appeared on screen for about 30 seconds. The delay was extraordinary. So I was sitting there waiting, and I could hear Jules saying, I don't think you can hear me. And I'm saying, I can hear you, I can. And I'm talking. And of course, there was a long lag because I was on. Anyway, it was a slight disaster. And there we go. So I apologize for A, not knowing where I am and where I live, and B, not being here. But I have likewise watched the show back, and it was brilliant. Paul, you did a brilliant job. What a great host you were.
Thanks, mate. Well, helped by obviously my colleague, who was equally, if not better, brilliant.
Yes.
Well, I wondered if I still have a job today, quite honestly, but I bullied my way in nonetheless.
We'll hold posthumous interviews later. But actually, what the takeaway for this for our clients, and I know they do watch, and I also know that Janthia, who's one of our clients, watches and listens to us. So hello, Janthia. Say hello, Janthia.
Hello, Janthia. You were the meeting we were at that I then ended up in Aylesbury from. We're not blaming you, but
no. But all I would say is, if you do take us on and Stephen becomes your client manager, don't expect him to turn up anytime soon at your meeting time, because he'll just get there one day, whenever, or maybe not.
Have a meeting at my house. Come and meet here. I know where that is. I can find my way from the bedroom down to the office. That's fine.
Yeah, or give him the name of a pub and a postcode.
Oh yeah, no, pubs are fine. Pubs are fine.
Never missed a pub.
No. That all having been said, hello to those watching us in Facebook land. A very warm welcome to A Proper Lunch. We're here every Thursday at 1 o'clock, and we have lunch first and foremost. We'll come to that in a minute. And then we dissect the latest news from the world of marketing and beyond. We occasionally have guests, but it's occasionally just the three of us also, which is just as good. Let's talk lunch. Jonny, you're swigging a mug of something. What have you got there to keep you sustained?
It's my cup of tea, and I do have my wonderful bottle of water, sponsored by Buckinghamshire Business First.
Nice.
I'm actually, today I was very lucky. My wife was working from home today, and she made toasty sandwiches for lunch. So, I mean, winner, absolute winner.
What a delight. What do you have? What did you have in your toasted sandwich?
I had a classic baked beans and cheese. It is just the way it goes everywhere, and it's just wonderful. So I'm very happy.
That reminds me, there was a phone in on the radio the other day because I like local radio. I'm a local radio fan. And they were talking about what's the appliance you've got in your kitchen that has never been used, never out of its box, and is always in the flipping way. A lot of people phoning in saying cheesy toasty makers. And I thought, no, my toasty maker is permanently out and permanently being used. Love a toasty. Yeah. But I'll have that as a think about. We'll circle back to it. What's the appliance in your house that you never use? Pop that in the old think box. PTK, what's on the lunch menu today?
Oh, well, I've gone continental today.
By
way of a change, a couple of pain au chocolat.
Oh, very nice. Very nice indeed. I've stuck, as always, to a cheese sandwich and a pork pie, because I think that's what people have come to expect of my lunch of a Thursday, and a cup of tea. But I've also gone, you got me onto this, I've got a can of hard seltzer to get into. Now, I'd never heard of this, but we talked about it on A Proper Lunch probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then it fell out of my head until I was in the supermarket and I saw that. And I thought, that is for Thursday. And it's been chilling ever since. And it's ready to go. Here we go. Oh, isn't that the best sound?
Isn't it? Yes. Well, actually, show us that one then. Give us a bit of a chat about what it is.
Live review. So this is a Mike's brand hard seltzer, black cherry flavoured. And I've never tried it, so we'll have a go. So it's got it tastes alcoholic, but only just. You'd probably need to drink 7 or 8 of them before you knew it was alcoholic, I would suggest. But no, really flavoursome, really fizzy, and that's a great. It's better than fizzy water, that's for sure.
Okay, so the
the
basic premise we learnt, didn't we, that a hard seltzer came over from America. It's now in most of our supermarkets, and it is basically carbonated water with fruit flavour and alcohol.
Yes.
Which I guess is grain alcohol, so something like vodka, I guess. Is it vodka? Does vodka live in it?
Just distilled spirit. It doesn't say what, but yeah.
Okay. And it's different to Alco Pop, low sugar. We're looking at the back of your can there. It says no this, no that. So no sugar, no artificial
sugar, vegan, no artificial sweeteners, gluten free, and yet it does taste of something. Normally, when you get free from everything, it doesn't taste of anything, does it? But no, it's tasty. Maybe that's the future.
And is this a British brand that started up, or is it an American brand that's come over?
This particular one, it looks like it's European. Yeah, this is from Belgium. This particular one, but there are UK brands, aren't there?
Yeah, there are.
There are UK companies doing it.
Yeah, and I also saw, because it's now on our radar, I think Bud Light have also decided to make a hard seltzer.
Okay.
So yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but apparently they have. But yeah, it's supposed to be the next big thing, isn't it? It's hard seltzers. So buy hard seltzer, write to us, tell us how you go on.
Exactly. And if you are watching, you can always join us by chatting in the comments box just underneath here. And if you feel really brave and want to come on screen and join us on the panel, you're welcome to do that too. Just give us a wave in the comments box and we will come right to you, of course. And do tell us in the box what's your appliance that you've got in your kitchen that you never use. I'll do mine. I'm looking, the kitchen's over there. And on top of the fridge, there's a box with a vegetable steamer in it. And it was brought for us by my mother-in-law. Never been out of its box. Every time I clean and dust on top of the fridge, it comes down, gets a wipe over to get the dust off and goes back up in its box again. I think we've all got one, haven't we? And there's a Clairol foot spa in the loft as well that never gets touched.
Foot spa? Goodness.
Yeah, proper foot spa.
Yeah. And on the subject then of hard seltzers, wasn't the Soda Stream the original hard seltzer That was just
Yeah.
water, carbonated, and fired out at high speed, and off it went. And they all came back, didn't they? The soda stream was back in a big way. They were everywhere. John Lewis, everyone had a soda stream again all of a sudden.
And they sit on your worktop. And you make one, of course, until you run out of gas, and you think, I'm not going to pay any more gas for it. And then you realise that what you've actually spent is probably about £4.50 to make a bottle of cola that you could have bought for 50 pence. It's like there's Mr. Frosty. The kids have got a Mr. Frosty. I can't remember the last time they used that. You can buy an ice cream.
What does that do?
It makes ice cream. You put ice in it and like a syrupy thing in it, and it churns out a slush puppy kind of affair. But never as nice, of course, as a slush puppy and all those things. Yeah, there we go. What have you got in your kitchen, Paul? You must have something lingering in there.
Well, you see, mine's slightly contentious. Whilst you're talking, I'm thinking, I know the answer to this one. The classic, the thing that every kitchen should have, of course, is the toaster. You cannot survive without toaster. No. So for my wedding, a wedding present, a long time ago now, I got given a classic 4-slice dual-lit chrome toaster, which of course is the beacon of toasterage. It's the one to have.
It's the zenith of the hot bread world, isn't it? Let's be honest.
That's the word. So there it sits, gleaming and lovely. Across the other side of the room, we have an Aga, which is lovely, and it's on all the time, and it's hot. And for those of you familiar with Agas, 2 hot plates, one really hot, one not so hot. I think it's something like 800 degrees in the hot one and 400 in the not so hot one. So you then have a cage, and you sandwich. It's like an open-y cage. Sandwich. You put 2 bits of bread in the cage, shut the cage, lift the lid, bung the cage and bread in, and shut the lid, and then a couple of minutes later, flip it. Do the same again, and it has essentially toasted your bread, and it's put all this wonderful grid nonsense all across it, and it's really nice. So my mate Graham, who owns one salon in Stony Stratford, and his wife came for lunch one Sunday, and we had a little drink, and her indoors, the future ex-wife, was talking about that the toaster was superfluous because obviously the best toast comes from the Aga, and I said no, the best toast will come from the dual-lit chrome classic 4-slice toaster, because that's its job. There's only got one job, and that's it. So of course it's going to be better. So anyway, Graham had another couple of drinks and became the official toast tester. Wonderful. And had a piece of toast. This is 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday. A piece of toast out from the Aga and a piece of toast out the dual-lit. You'll never guess what one.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
The Aga one.
Did it?
The Aga one. The Aga toast was hotter, crispier, more appealing because of its grids and squares. The dual-lit is now in the garage.
Oh, that's the device you never use. Well, see, I thought you were going to say it was the grid thing for the Aga. I saw that in your kitchen last time I was at your place. I didn't dare ask what it was for fear you might tell me.
So you've now got the world's biggest, most expensive toaster sat in your kitchen.
Yeah.
And tell me about, is your Aga one of these that heats the house as well? Does it do all your hot water? No, because they're funny things, Agas, aren't they?
Well, yeah, and there's various different types of Aga, apart from the ones made by Aga. So a lot of them have a boiler in the back, and they send hot water around your house and all those things. But ours literally sits there wasting energy all day long. And it's gas powered, and it's a kettle, it's a cooker, it's a hostess trolley, it's a griller, it's a toaster, it's all those things. So yeah, it is a good thing to have. It's great fun. And of course, when you're like me and your cooking is atrocious, but you like to try. So I'm a keen amateur cookerer, and I generally look at a recipe and then kind of try and go my own way. And there's my mistake. If I just did what it said, it's not good. Putting peanut butter in the spaghetti bolognese and all that, apparently it's not good, and it messes the food up. So this we learn. But for an amateur cookerer, I know the temperatures of the ovens because they stay the same. So therefore, if it's baking, it goes in the baking oven. If it's roasting, it goes in the roasting oven. If it's simmering, it goes in the simmering oven. So it's just the simplest. So, top tip, blokes, buy an Aga and be a cooking genius like me.
I'm just going to decline that dinner party invitation. Oh, right, good. Jonny, what have you got in your kitchen that you never use?
I will come back to that, but the Aga thing, I mean, we grew up with the Raven, so it's sort of the poor man's Aga, basically. But it was oil fired, and it was brilliant. It did have the boiler in the back, so it heated. It did one radiator in the house because it wasn't a particularly good one, but it meant we had a warm kitchen and a warm bathroom.
Yeah,
the rest of the house was freezing. but that was good.
That's fun.
And a friend of mine still has. They've got an old farmhouse that they live in, and they've still got a wood-fired Rayburn, which is
Wow.
it's good when they're there all day because you can keep it topped up. But if you go out for too long, then it gets cold, and then you have to relight it. It's a nightmare. But anyway, the thing that I have, because I was thinking about this, we don't. I mean, I could probably go the other way. The things that we should have that we don't have are actually a toasty maker, because we did have one and it broke. And then my wife discovered that actually you can make a toasty relatively easy with the frying pan. It doesn't seal the edges like a toasty maker, but it tastes just as good. A hand mixer, because the last one of those broke, so we've actually been making cakes with our arms. So beefing up the muscles there.
Yeah, Popeye.
Yeah, but the thing that we've got that it really bugs me because we don't use it a lot. It takes up a lot of space, and I feel I'd be a better person if I didn't have one. Is the microwave. All we use it for is heating the baby's milk, and occasionally defrosting something if we forgot to take it out in the freezer too early. But other than that, it's just this big chunk that sits on the worktop and doesn't do a lot.
Can I just say,
your stories together? Paul doesn't cook much, and you don't use your microwave. I only cook in the microwave. Yesterday we had a curry. It was 7 minutes in the microwave from the freezer, because that's my level of cooking.
Do you know, we have never, it will work, Johnny, chuck it out. We've never had a microwave, never had one in the house. So we've never used it, never bothered with it.
It's literally heating the baby's milk. We use it for that because otherwise it's boiling water. It takes hours. But she's 1.5 nearly, so that won't be much longer. So I think that is the plan. She will.
Well, we're on the verge of turning from Loose Women to Top Gear, I think, here, aren't we? So let's talk marketing for a while. We've been talking to one of our clients this week about marketing automation. Paul, over to you.
Yes, indeed. We were looking at the job of marketing, the daily grind of marketing, the weekly grind, the monthly grind, the activities that have to go on, stuff you'd really love to do. We sit there and say, okay, well, I've got so many products that some of my clients don't use, and I'd love to get in touch with them and say, thank you for buying what you do buy, but be aware there's these things that you don't buy, but never get around to it. So actually, I'm going to put them on my website, but then existing clients sometimes generally don't go on your website because they're your existing clients. So that's a bit wasted. And so how do you keep them in touch? What's the fine line? And this was a question from one of our clients. It's a really good question. What's the fine line between keeping in touch with an existing client and swamping an existing client with constant messages of, I know you've got money, I know you like us, I know you could use what we sell, you don't buy this from us, why don't you? And so you should. At what point? And then we looked to science, and I said, well, quite honestly, that is a job for marketing automation, because marketing automation is born, I think, from big data, and I'd really love us to have an expert on to tell us so much more about it. But we know what it does, and that is automate that process. So big data says if you contact somebody 3 times a month, you stand a very good chance of engaging them in what you're saying. However, the point at which you go to 4 or 5 times a month, they're probably going to unsubscribe, in which case when you have got a really good message for them later on, they'll have unsubscribed and they'll miss it. So actually you're then done. So that's then a proper fail. But if you only contact them once a month, maybe that's not enough. And machine learning and big data and all those things will push that knowledge now into marketing automation platforms, of which there are millions. So essentially, we got talking about the difference between CRM, so client relationship management or customer relationship management software, where you log all your clients' name, address, preferences, birth dates, name of spouse, that kind of stuff, together with then their business preferences. They bought this off us on that day and so on. And then all the templates and bits and pieces inside a HubSpot, for want of a better word. If there is indeed a better word, maybe HubSpot is the pinnacle of CRM. I think it's very good. I know, Jonny, you've got an opinion on that. So that stuff gets logged. You then have their details beautifully set up, and then you can communicate, and the machine will say, in theory, do this, do that. Why not do this? Why not do that? Then that will, I guess, send letters if you need it to, like print out things for you to wet ink, sign, and put in the post. Together with stuff to social, stuff to email inboxes. It's kind of that, isn't it? As far as I can make out. And it just sounds so great in that you're no longer on your own trying to market what it is you're trying to say.
Mm-hmm. I think you're absolutely right. And there's an interesting point about content, isn't there? And it's all about when you were talking about how often you market something, it put me in mind of, I bought a product. It was a product for the kids. So it was effectively a learning tool for the kids. And that was great. And we use it a lot. And I've been getting, I've told you about this, Paul, that we've been getting weekly emails from them. And originally you think, oh, hang on, a weekly email from someone who bought a product. And it wasn't a big product. It was about 15 quid's worth of stuff. And I've been getting emails every week. But the reason they're good is that there's value in every single one. So one was a colouring in activity pack linked to the product that I bought. One was a worksheet. One was a something else or something else. Then I got one in half term that was 10 fun things you can do this half term. So actually they understood me as a consumer, understood that I was a parent, clearly looking for things to do with the kids because I bought that product. So I didn't mind hearing from them every single week. And then the clincher was when they sent me a don't forget these are our other products email. But I would say I got at least 5 or 6 with free added value content before I ended up getting the sale. And then I bought something from the sale email. And I'm fairly confident, even as a cynical marketeer, that I wouldn't have bought something from a sales email had I not had those 6 freebies beforehand. And that, of course, was all marketing automation. It was a big company. No way were they doing it to me because it was me and I bought a product. They've obviously got their algorithm just right.
Yeah. Fascinating.
But if I bought a new set of alloy wheels and all of a sudden I was getting emails with hints and tips about, car maintenance and then a list of sprockets I could buy, I'd have deleted and unsubscribed a long time ago.
But the interesting thing, so I very, very rarely unsubscribe from anything, but almost every newsletter or anything that I get goes straight to my junk folder. Right. So I very, very rarely read anything. However, I'll always skim over the junk folder just in case there's something I need. So I always see the name of that company. Yeah. So even just that, that recognition, if it was the alloy wheels, when something comes up where you need something to do with the wheels or cars, you'd be, oh, actually, yeah, I remember that. And you would have a look. You wouldn't necessarily buy, but you would definitely, it would be one of the first places you look. So it's, I think it's always worth doing it, even if you don't quite get it right.
It's interesting, isn't it? And then that becomes, when you start talking about preferences, content, frequency, message, that bit about message target timing, which they'll teach you in college when you go do your marketing degree, message target timing in that order. And it's so true, isn't it? Although I would question target and timing in that order. But anyway, then you go back a stage and say, okay, how will marketing change? One of the things that got a mention this week in Marketing Week was how junk food suppliers and sellers are being clamped down on in 2023. They're being told that before 9 o'clock you can't market or advertise junk food. We'll come on to that in a sec. But that's like a marketing device, and the world says, oh no, the product you've got, we don't want you to do it before 9 o'clock because childhood obesity is one of the things we need to deal with, and we think this will take 7.6 billion calories out of kids' diets if you just stop advertising junk food before 9 o'clock. So where have they got that from? That again is this big data stuff, isn't it? And then preferences. I see a time I was reading probably a year ago about blockchain. Have you heard of blockchain? You come across blockchain in kind of bits and bobs. This idea of decentralization, which we talk about as well, don't we, SGW, where you would have a blockchain and you would say, I like alloy wheels, I like Bentleys, I like Riva Aquaramas, I like Bedfordshire, I like whatever it is you like. And that's almost displayed on your blockchain, which is yours, not powered by Facebook or anybody else. That's Paul's blockchain. So you as the advertiser could come on there and it might say, I love to go on a P&O cruise every couple of years. I don't, but I just saying. So if I've got a preference of cruise, then P&O could look on my blockchain and say, oh, this guy goes for Caribbean cruises. He likes those. So rather than pay Facebook to be able to send me an advert, which is the way it is now, you get a free Facebook account, but the free equals you give them permission to do what they like with your details, and they will, and they charge for it. because you don't get to see any of that money, do you? You on your story, it will say, I've just been on a Caribbean cruise, and that data goes back up the tubes, and then Facebook says, well, if you want to advertise to someone who buys cruises, why don't you go and speak to him?
Yes.
But actually, blockchain will change all that, because my preference will be here. Then P&O Ferries might send me a note saying, Paul, I know you like a Caribbean cruise. Here's an advert for our latest one, and I'll send you 100 quid in cryptocurrency if you'll just watch the advert. So therefore, they're still paying to advertise to me, but they're actually paying me. And then there'll be a mark left on my account that P&O have tried to sell me a cruise. And so Olsen Cruises may well start next and say, okay, well, we see you've looked at the P&O cruise. And what did you think? Did you buy one? And actually, why don't we give you 200 cryptocurrency things? And could you have a look at our advert, or 50 or a 10? So you could actually earn money from being advertised to. The advertisers don't care. They're going to spend it anyway. It decentralizes this data monster, which is maybe the Facebooks and the whoever's, not picking on Facebook, but people who centralize data and then sell that. And actually, what a strange world it would then be, in that you could put out saying, I'm thinking of buying a new bike, and Rally could then send you 10 quid and hope that you read their advert, love it, and get 10 quid towards your bike.
There's a browser, web browser called Brave Browser, that is one of the ones I have on my computer. And one of the things it does, it's got all sort of ad blockers and stuff built in, which is part of the reason I use it, because ads annoy me. But it also has the option for you to get paid to view the ads. So that you can sort of build up money. It's only small amounts, but obviously the amount of ads that you get shown in a day, and you can then build up some money because you've allowed these people to show you the ads. And so it's a similar process. They're sort of treating you like a human being rather than treating you like a product, a la Google and Facebook.
Yeah.
So it's
it is changing.
It is moving that way.
And you're right, it's all driven by that big data piece, isn't it? And it's old technology now, but looking back at the analog advertising world, when you advertise on TV now, back in the day, you would phone at ITV and say, can I have a contract, please, to advertise on Anglia or whichever TV network you happen to be in? And then perhaps you'd pay per transmitter and all that kind of stuff. And that was fairly standard. But now when you advertise, I'm sure it's not the only one, but I always, if ever I'm advertising for a client, will use a product called Sky Ad Smart, which is extraordinary. So in every ad block, for example, on a Sky channel, there might be, what do you reckon, 6 adverts maybe in the ad break. 4 of those adverts will be the same wherever you're watching it, but the other 2 will be ad smart slots. So I'd have put my product out and say, I want this to go to postcodes that have got average income over £100,000 a year, drive sports cars, and quite like going on cruises. And the big data will crunch, and they'll say, okay, we've found 300 postcodes in the UK that hit that demographic, and only those houses will get my advert. That's extraordinary, isn't it? When you think about how television used to work. I said then, and I'll say now, I think it's witchcraft. I can't see any other way around it.
Must be witchcraft.
Yeah.
It also happens on radio. If you're listening to the radio online, they can do exactly the same thing, do targeted ads in exactly the same manner. There's been a bit of
kickback about the way the radio does that, because they do it on split transmitters and things. There was an article I read this week about a radio network who were getting complaints about their country and western channel, because normally they would have their country and western music, and then the ads would be relative, and then the DJ would talk about, that was Glenn Campbell and this is Ty Handon or whatever, and would talk about the act. But now they get Jonny Englishby or whoever comes on. No, not Jonny Englishby. He's someone else. John, who am I thinking of? Johnny doesn't matter. Walker. Yeah, and him. Johnny Walker will come on and just talk about the radio, and it's almost centralized it too much. So whilst you're getting that targeted advert, you're not necessarily getting the spirit you once got from your DJ. That just popped. That's irrelevant. It just popped into my head. No, and hello, Jonny Englishby, who got a name check for no reason.
I like him as well. He's really good.
Why?
He's
Nice
a marketing man, isn't he? He's a
nice
man. Yeah.
It will be really interesting for us to get an expert on, as you say, someone who really knows marketing automation. Because the three of us, I think, have all had different experiences of it, haven't we? And we'll all tell our tales of woe and our tales of success. But wouldn't it be wonderful to talk to someone who knows how to do it and knows the ins and outs of it?
Yeah. And that bit as well, where's it powered from? Who decides once a week, once a year, once every 10 years? Or is that actually still a manual process and you just tune it, turn it up and down make it work for you.
Because I wonder if big data is actually that intelligent that it says, okay, we know what your product is, we know which sector you work in, we know what product you're marketing, therefore we know how often we're talking to your client. Because maybe it's that clever. It'd be fascinating to find out. If anybody watching knows, do drop us a comment and let us know your expertise or your stories. We'd love to hear them.
Yeah, we can get you on now, actually. If there's someone sat there watching who goes, I know the answer, pop it in the comments and we can actually get you on screen straight away.
Yes.
Call us now, exactly. Fabulous. So yeah, that's really, really interesting. Well, that one will run and run, I'm sure. I touched a little bit on television there and advertising. Has anybody tuned into GB News yet since it's launched?
No, but I know it launched. That's all I know.
And actually, that's a really interesting case in point for what I was going to say, because it's the long and short of it is it's a new television station for those who haven't seen it, and they have promoted themselves as being the home of real, unbiased, unvarnished news and the voice of the people and all of those kind of things. It doesn't have it's not backed by a political lobbyist group or anything like that, but it's unashamedly right-leaning. A lot of the TV, a lot of the presenters they have are right-wing presenters, and they have said as much. And their views are typically on the right side of centre, which is fine. And they've billed themselves as being, as I say, the voice of the people, all of that stuff. The interesting thing, though, isn't so much that content. It's been the technical issues they've had since launching. So bearing in mind, they must have had a bit of dollar behind them to be able to get a television station. They've got big names. They've got Andrew Neil and people like proper journalists on there. So they're spending some cash, but they were doing interviews in their opening day. You couldn't hear them. You couldn't see them. The cameraman didn't know which studio he was panning to. You saw more empty studios than you did people with ones in. And the zenith, for me, that's the second time I've said zenith, no more, was when a week or so ago, Boris Johnson was making his announcement about whether restrictions would lift or not on the 21st of June, which of course they didn't. But he started making his announcement and he came on screen and you saw him and he said, because they didn't turn his volume up or they weren't taking the right feed. And then it cut back to the presenter who clearly wasn't expecting it because she was sitting there doing this. And you could see her go, and you think, this is the biggest news that there is at the moment, and you can't even get this right. So here's my question. Was that a massive oversight, and was it gremlins and all gremlins, or was it some very cynical, clever marketeer who wanted us to be sitting here having this very conversation, and for you, Paul, to be sitting there thinking, I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard of them.
Yeah.
Which you might not have done beforehand, because they have been everywhere.
And the only reason I've heard of them is because of the furore and they turned it wrong and the sound didn't come up and they're back to the studio and no one was expecting and. So, yeah, that's an interesting question. Haven't watched it, know about it because of the mistake.
Yeah.
Was it a mistake or was it a plan?
Or was it not? Interesting. And then there's the other piece is that, again, talking about TV advertising, a lot of advertising companies, a lot of companies, have withdrawn their advertising from GB News on the basis that they consider it to be right-wing and people are saying hate speech and all this sort of thing. That's not my view. I haven't watched enough of it to say, but that's what the advertisers are saying. Interestingly, they're saying we didn't know we were on that channel. And if we did, we would, which is almost going back, it is going back to our automation question, isn't it? Are there actually companies out there that are spending millions of pounds on TV ads and they're relying so much on the data they don't even know where they're advertising? And there were big companies that are just associating themselves apparently with hate speech or whatever the station purports to be, and then are withdrawing their ads. So is that kind of automation making us lose too much control?
Yeah, because that's not the first time. It happened in America, didn't it? On a few similar, right wing or extremist view things where companies. It's trouble is once someone goes, oh, you shouldn't be talking about that. Did you know these people advertise? Suddenly they go, oh God, we better do something. We're withdrawing. So whether it's that they don't know or they're just playing ignorant, that's the other question. Don't know.
But it's interesting to look at the state of the media, isn't it? I was thinking about it before we came on, and it almost feels like the antithesis or the remedy to Channel 4 News, which of course is traditionally very left-leaning. But Channel 4 News, we as a society kind of accept, don't we? And we know that Channel 4 are a bit lefty, and we know if we pick up The Guardian, we're going to read slightly lefty news. GB News and the Daily Mail, who I think would probably associate, I don't think that's slanderous, there's almost a kickback, isn't there? A society says, "Oh no, we don't want that. That's a bit nasty." That's a comment, an observation rather than a question. I wonder what the state of the media is going to look like.
I mean, my perhaps entirely personal thought on that is that perhaps because as a society we tend to be a little bit right wing anyway, and therefore something that is left leaning is actually a little bit central, whereas something that's right leaning is quite right, and therefore it's a long way from what we see as acceptable. Perhaps that's the difference there.
Yeah, maybe.
So the news story this week, which I'm sure GB News have a take on, and I haven't seen it, it actually came yesterday, was that there is an organisation, One Britain, One Nation, and they have produced an anthem, a new anthem for Britain that they want all of the school children to sing tomorrow, in fact.
Oh.
And it's very jingoistic, and it is very much, we are Britain, we're one nation, aren't we brilliant? And it smacks of, now I'm going to sound like I'm Channel 5, because on Channel 5 you can talk for 30 minutes and then you mention Hitler. It almost sounds a bit like the Hitler Youth. It sounds like we're trying to rally the troops. It's terrifying.
Yeah, and scary.
I'm on a soapbox a bit here, but I'm doing it anyway. Don't you feel like we're living in a very peculiar time when that story comes out and really we're not batting an eyelid? We're saying, oh yeah, that makes sense. And everything else, it's feeling almost end of timesy, isn't it? It's a very weird time to be alive.
It is, yeah. And you watch it in the kids, don't you, where we're all very much aware of labeling everybody. So all the kids now are labelled. You are gender neutral, you are non-binary, you put your pronouns now on your channels to say I'm he or her or them or and so on. So actually we're much more choice led, aren't we? We have a choice. And in the old days, if you didn't like the advertising, don't buy the paper, or if you don't like electronic advertising, pull the plug out. Those days are kind of gone, really, I guess, in that personalized advertising means the chances are, if unlike Jonny, who doesn't look at his adverts, Jonny, you should, because in there'll be someone saying, need to get rid of your microwave for free in your area. I can do it for you Monday.
I'll come back to that when you're done.
Yeah. But actually, because we all have a choice, and because we don't, it doesn't really sit with me anyway, the Conservative, Labour, and any of those political parties. I generally don't label myself as any of those things, and I don't label myself as anything other than a chap who just wakes up every day and gets on with his work and his life and all those things. And so actually, if you wanted to call me he, they, them, she, it actually wouldn't bother me, but I don't seek that label. Whereas now there's much more label seeking. Actually, to have TV channels which are label seeking and looking to gain a tribe, and then get that tribe to stand up and sing youth songs. You do wonder. I mean, everyone has a choice, you'd hope.
Yeah, and the reason for all of that wasn't just a soapbox. The reason for that is bringing that all back to what we do. How does that presents enormous challenges for businesses who are trying to go out and ultimately get money? Let's be honest, that's what business is about. Get money from individuals. Well, there was a time when an individual was quite easily defined and quite easily put into a box, but not so much now. So automation must really, and relying on that big data is becoming more and more important. And taking a step back, knowing your strategy and knowing your strategic aims has never been more important, I don't think, because you could fall down. I mean, I did it. I started talking just then about Sky and ended up referencing the Hitler Youth. I feel like Richard Madeley. So you can really go down, you can just end up down so many rabbit holes. And we do it, Paul. We sit and we're talking about how we're marketing the business, and we end up in all kinds of little avenues and all kinds of little crevices, which is wonderful. But we can do it because we've got the strategy in our mind and we know everything goes back to that. As a new business or a micro business or an SME, it can be very tempting to try and satisfy all of those different boxes that we've identified in the last 20 minutes and go on so many different routes. Unfortunately, without being the bearer of bad news, if you do that and you try and go down 30 channels to talk to 40 different people, you're not really going to hit with any of them. Because also, in an ideal world, you do one thing and you do one thing well. And the same with marketing, really. You only want 2 or 3 avenues that you're really doing well, don't you? To hit. And yeah, it's an interesting time. So automation, yes, but strategy, going back to that grassroots of having your strategy right, is so important.
And you, also your bit about where you say about aligning yourself with a brand. So winners stay with winners, and you would, if a sports personality gets caught drink driving, all of a sudden their sports sponsors kind of disappear for a minute, don't they? So that scatter approach. We had one, our closest one, I guess, was back in February, where we got offered some work to work with a company, and we didn't agree with their logic. We didn't agree with their approach. We didn't particularly like their plan. They were bringing back an old brand and refreshing it, turning it into a new brand, and then launching. And could we help? And we actually turned it down because it didn't fit. Well, it was nothing weird or odd. It just, whatever it was, just didn't fit with our groove. So actually we were happy to not thanks, which is fine, isn't it? It's okay to do that. It's okay to say no thanks.
It is, but it's also one of the hardest things as a small business to turn work away.
Yeah.
To have that sort of conviction to go, that's not quite right, and it will take us the wrong direction. That's sort of, but oftentimes, especially when you're starting out in a small business, you go, oh, it's money. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
But we were vilified, I suppose, if that's the right word, in that decision. Does that mean, is that a good thing? That's good. Yeah. Sometimes I think I've made words up, you see. But I did see the product that company puts out when I was out and about the other day, and he'd done everything wrong. Everything that we told him not to do, he'd done. But the interesting point is somebody was engaging with the product. So whilst it didn't work for us, it's obviously worked for that business because they've got that client engaging with it. So sometimes marketing is subjective, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes things are just wrong.
And when you say you make up words, you do make up words, but then you also make up sentences like, I feel like Richard Madeley. Said nobody ever, apart from you today.
So the reason I said that, there was a reason for that. There's a Richard Madeley's been doing Good Morning Britain occasionally lately since Piers Morgan's left. And I'm beginning to think he is just Alan Partridge in real life. And he was talking about, I'm not going to retell the story because it's quite contentious, but ultimately he started talking about the Hitler Youth for no real reason whatsoever. And it went reasonably viral and people were just laughing at him. So that was the reason I brought up Madeley. Bless him. As opposed
to you feel like Richard Madeley.
Oh no, I don't feel like Richard Madeley. No, not today.
That's good.
Nor do I feel like Judy Finnegan, you'll be pleased to know.
No. Now, in other news, and we touched on it a little bit there, an acronym for you, HFSS.
How very dare you? Oh, you don't mean that. Okay.
No. HFSS, high fat, sugar and salt. Big news in Marketing Week this week about the HFSS. Right, that. Oh, just saying. Jonny has got rum in his bottle today. Now that's just sugar, isn't it? That's just cane sugar.
It's a lot of sugar.
Yeah, just full of sugar. But you enjoy it, Jonny. Don't you worry about us. You carry on. So it turns out that 2023 is the UK's deadline for online and TV ban on HFSS. So anything high fat, high sugar gets banned before 9 o'clock, which is clearly still the watershed, but online and on TV. And they say this will take 7.6 billion calories out of the kids' diet, which can only be a good thing. But the debate, the balloon has gone up in that there's some exceptions with junk food. Some foods you can still advertise before 9 o'clock are honey, jam, olive oil, avocados, and Marmite.
How bizarre. Marmite's the saltiest thing you can eat.
Yeah. Oh, and then also, if you're a food producer with less than 250 employees who produce junk food, you can advertise it anytime you want.
Oh. That makes little or no sense. Sorry, that's my boy in the background having a natter. Are you right over there, son?
He's probably got something to say on this.
Yes,
probably.
That sugary treat.
In fact, no, he's just gone into a snack drawer to get a sugary treat. You carry on. You can eat it. It's fine. You didn't say it on the telly, so crack on.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Yes, but what do you make of that? Like, pull that apart. Goodness me.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because let's think back to when they banned cigarette advertising. That had a big impact, didn't it? And people did stop smoking, and it measurably worked. I wonder if so that's obviously the kind of science they're going on. But I don't remember the cigarette advertising having those kind of caveats. I don't think that Silk Cut could advertise because they had fewer employees than Benson and Hedges. I don't think it worked like that. So I think that for me is the kicker: the fact that there are those sort of caveats that you can still advertise if you're a smaller organisation. Because surely, if you're Nestle, all of a sudden you're going to diversify and be Nestle chocolate bars, and then you're going to be Nestle Marmite or whatever. I'm making this up, but make yourself smaller enough industries that you can do it.
Yeah.
Very
cute,
Jonny. I certainly agree with it in principle. I mean, my kids don't need any encouragement to eat salty and sweet treats, so we can get them off the telly. Thank you very much. Although I'm not convinced that it's TV advertising that's the problem. I think it's probably supermarkets and the readiness of the products. You almost think, so with, again, going back to the cigarette argument, you won't, if you walk into a shop now, you can't see a packet of cigarettes because otherwise you might walk in, see them and buy some. If it's that serious, which one might suggest it is based on them making this ruling, perhaps they need to do a similar thing. I mean, we're back into end of times again, aren't we, when everything's in locked cupboards? But that's more of an issue for me. The kids will buy things because they see it in the shop rather than see it on the TV. What
about if they decided actually all chocolate bars now have to have a plain packet, the same as they did with cigarettes? Would that work? You just go and buy the generic brown tube of whatever, and that's what I'm going to eat.
Maybe.
It'd be fascinating to look at the science, wouldn't it, as to what has contributed the most to the decline in smoking. And I think another thing is the alternate product. So there's the fact that you can vape now rather than smoking. I don't think, going back, there were nicotine patches and things, and there was the gum, wasn't there? And now there's the vaping. So I think there's the alternative products are important. If we're taking the sweet and the salty away, what can you have instead? Are there enough healthy options and all of those sort of things?
But I think with the smoking, it's also that suddenly you didn't see your hero on telly smoking. They banned all of that. You couldn't. So that makes a big impact, especially to younger people. It's like, you've just seen Stephen Gordon Wilson light up a cigarette. You go, oh, I'd love to be like him. I'm going to do the same. That didn't happen. Now that you're eating a sandwich, I think that's better. But if you're eating a chocolate bar, could you not do that perhaps?
Rothman's never returned my call. I put myself out there, but then it's funny, isn't it?
It's interesting though how you would push it to, and I think you're probably right. The supermarket stuff, my vision of the smart supermarket of the future, and I may have read this or seen it or something, or even just made it up, in which case I'm perhaps a billionaire without knowing it. Was you turn up at Sano's, you grab your trolley, and it's got an iPad on it and sensors in the trolley, and it says, "Hi Paul," because it's just read my wallet. I know you're on a low sodium, low fat, high carb, low protein, whatever diet, and you go, oh yeah, no, actually I'm off carbs, I'm on proteins, I'm trying to keep this down, that down, and so on. And the trolley goes, okie doke, let's go shopping. So you pick up your Lurpak and you pop it in your trolley, and it goes, pop it back and get the Bertolli olive oil stuff. It's 73% better for your heart, and yada yada yada. And actually the machinery then could coach me to buy well, so that when I get home I eat well. And then if I haven't bought badly of the HFSS, and I've only got good stuff in the house, then that's all I've got to eat, so I will eat better. So actually you are sort of right. If the supermarket could coach me to buy well, then I would eat well, because I wouldn't have a choice. So maybe that is the shop of the future.
So I think on reflection, actually, it's not advertising's fault. I don't think marketing can be blamed for the HFSS epidemic, if there is one.
Win for marketing.
Hooray, tick in the box for the department today.
Love that. Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because we don't have alcohol in the house, or very rarely. It's like if I want a beer, we'll go and buy a few beers and we'll have them. But I just make a point of not buying a crate and sticking it in the cupboard, because I know if I do that, then every night I'll be like, oh, I'll just have a beer tonight. Yeah, because it's there. So it's that same thing. It's if it's not there, you can't do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're the same, aren't we, SGW? We don't have alcohol in the house. We buy it every day.
Yeah, it never comes to no, we've got a deal where we never have Paul looks after all mine, I look after all of his. So if anybody asks if you bought any alcohol in the house, no, I bought it all sent to Paul's.
Purely for him.
It worked.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been a wide-ranging conversation today. We've hit quite a few different topics, but I think they all seem to be boiling down to talking about how we market to our consumers, of course, and how we market to our customers. We'd love to find out more about how you at home or in the office are doing it, what you've found, particularly with marketing automation, and maybe what you think about the HFSS debate. You can comment on our chat down below. We're going to push off soon, so we might not see them straight away, but we'll certainly engage on the video a bit later on. Also, can I prompt you that we do have the Proper Marketing Hub available that you can join and find out more on an almost daily basis. On there, you can find a number of different guides and courses that you can go and take, all of this completely for free, of course. So you can go and find out the basics of social media are on there, the basics of really what is marketing, because that's often the first question. You can find all that on the hub. And also, probably more importantly, it's a really convivial group of like-minded marketeers. It's a real community. So even if you've got a few questions, go and fire them on there and get them answered. And we can be generous, old Barks, occasionally. We had one hubber who came on and said she was having trouble with her website, and then she ended up getting us to pay for our website for her. So I'm not saying we can do that every time. Don't come on and say that you're missing your old Ferrari. But, you know, we won't, who knows? But do head over to the Proper Marketing Hub and find out what we've got going on. We will list all of our events for July on there as well. The Proper Marketing Lunch happens every Thursday at 1 o'clock. You know that, of course, because you're here. But there'll be a number of other events, of course, some more great webinars. So we'll have a list of all those events on the Hub in the next few days for July. So please do join us there.
And you can listen to it again, of course. We record these and pop them back onto our Proper Marketing page. So come and have a look. And then, now, SGW, one thing. Talk to me about Jonny Fulton.
I will talk to you about Jonny Fulton. And now this has been dogging me a lot this week, actually, trying to work out whether it's time to bust this wide open. But I think it's just more fun to play with it for now.
No.
I'm just going to tease you that little bit longer because I don't think Johnny's giving up. I think Jonny Tightlips down there is not going to give the secret up. And it's not my secret to give. But for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, probably a month ago now on a proper lunch, we were talking about, I can't even remember what we were talking about, but it came to light that Jonny Fulton has been basically lying to our faces and working under a pseudonym. It's not his name. And then he put it to us to try and guess what it was. I just found out because I'm too curious, but Paul doesn't know and he's been guessing. So we exhausted the A's last time. Let's go the other end. Have some goes in the XYZ column.
Is your name Xanthia?
Oh.
No, interesting, but no, it's not.
See, I'm not the only one that makes up words, am I?
Victor.
Not Victor.
Oh, Victor, you look like Victor Fulton. I like that.
Hang on, I've got it. William Jonny Fulton. That's the sort of thing a parent would call their child, isn't it?
Yeah. No, but interestingly, we did talk about calling my son William, but my mother-in-law insisted that if we did, she would just call him Willy Bum. So we said, all right, we won't do that.
Your mother-in-law sounds like mine. That's the kind of thing she'd say.
Right, well, that's my guesses for this week. And now, in other news then, well, in the same news, actually, SGW, what does Jonny actually do for us?
What does Jonny actually do for us? That is a very good question. He does an awful lot for us, and we're very, very grateful. Jonny is our technical partner and technical sponsor, and all of today's technology has come directly from him and Fox Wiley. Jonny, tell us a bit about Fox Wiley, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're an events production company. We're based in Milton Keynes, but we work globally, and we make people's lives easy. If they want to run an event, be it virtual, we've had a lot of experience in that in the last year or so, or in person, because very excited about those coming back. We basically just organize everything for you. So we can jump in and do any of it that you need, or little pieces, or the whole thing, so that you can just turn up and go, didn't I do well? That's what
What's the live events sector looking like, Jonny, at the moment? Are live events coming back?
It's still a very challenging time. Corporates, I mean, we work mostly in the corporate market, and companies are very nervous of organizing something and telling all of their employers, yes, you have to come to this and sit in a room, because, you know, we're still in the throes of a pandemic. So until that threat is over, it's going to be a very turbulent market. Obviously, the news of the opening up hit the festivals and parties quite hard, because there had been quite a lot planned that have had to quickly go, okay, yeah, we're still going to do it, but it's now going to be in a month's time or what have you. So it's still very turbulent, and I suspect there will be some more casualties within the industry. But there's also a lot of positivity, a lot of, the whole virtual events thing is something that as an industry we've been raring to go and ready to do for 5 or 6 years at least. And because of what's happened in the last year, now companies are getting on board and going, oh, actually, yeah, there's some good advantages there.
Yeah.
So that's a quickly growing sector within the industry. So although, yes, it's not great, it's not all doom and gloom.
No, and I've with my other hat, when I'm not marketing, I work in the theatre sector, and we had a show planned for tomorrow night. In fact, a big all-star variety, which has had to be postponed until August, obviously, because things have changed. Which is wonderful, because it's now summer, and we'll make lemonade out of those particular lemons. But there is a turnaround. We're noticing in ticket sales. There seems to be growing confidence. We've got a panto on at Christmas, and we're noticing ticket sales creeping up. They were incremental, but now they're kind of taking a bit of an upward turn, which is great. I think people are getting more confident that things are reopening.
Yeah,
really good. Can we put a little thingy across the bottom saying where I get my panto tickets? Because you know what it's like, once you've had the tidbit, there's panto tickets, now's the time to buy them.
Now's the time. So it's peterpanmk.co.uk, Jonny, and it's Peter Pan. You'd have got that from the URL, at the Chrysalis Theatre in Willen in Milton Keynes, starring, amongst other people, Steve Hewlett, the ventriloquist from Britain's Got Talent, CJ Demouy, who was an egghead and is now an actor, and the shining jewel in our crown, Mr. Blobby. Actual Mr. Blobby is coming. And when I booked Blobby, I never did I imagine it would grab as much attention as it did. I was interviewed on the BBC Three Counties Radio the other week, and the drive time presenter, Roberto, phoned me and said, will you come on, mate, just talk about Blobby for a few minutes? I said, yeah, that'll be fun. And I turned the radio on an hour beforehand to find out that not only was he talking to me, but he had dedicated his whole show to Mr. Blobby. You can still hear it on the iPlayer. The title of the show was Mr. Blobby Comes to Milton Keynes. He kept playing the song. He had hit comedy experts in talking about why Blobby is funny. It's hilarious. But his just peer behind the curtain, Mr. Blobby. Now, I don't know how to say this without breaking any illusions. Mr. Blobby is currently under refurbishment. They're making us a new one. But it's being made by the same characters that made the Masked Singer costumes, which, as you will recall, were superb. Wow. So we are very excited to have a brand new Mr. Blobby.
So when was Mr. Blobby last aired?
He was 80s and 90s originally, and actually, when I'm allowed to tell you, we've got something else going on with him in Milton Keynes that's linked to the 80s and 90s. I can't tell you about that yet, but I will when I can. And then he was in panto every year. Now, here was the trick, of course, because Mr. Blobby is what Mr. Blobby is. Again, without ruining anything, he managed somehow to do about 7 or 8 pantomimes a year. So,
wow.
And I don't know how he did it. It must have just been a very tight schedule. It's like when you go to Disneyland, isn't it? And you see Cowboy Mickey Mouse, and all of a sudden he becomes Wizard Mickey Mouse in the next. And you think, how did you get changed so quickly? Extraordinary. But he's not been in panto for several years because he's not been on telly and he's not been a big name. But all of the Blobby people are very excited that he's coming back. And so keep your eyes peeled, because he is coming back, Blobby, and you heard it here first. But do grab your tickets and come and see him. And I'm sure we can arrange for Blobby selfies as well, because why would you not?
I think we should interview him on a proper lunch towards about November time.
100%.
Actually have him on and have a proper chat with the guy.
Yeah, I might not be on screen. I might be somewhere else. If you're
stuck in the car.
I might be stuck in the car, but you'll have Mr. Blobby. He might even be sitting here on this back wall, but I probably can't make it because there's only one seat, you know. Quick, move on. I've run out of pork pie. Let's go before they crack our code.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this week's Proper Lunch. We'll be back next Thursday, same time, same place. Until then, have a great week.
Goodbye.